Welcome to week 1, day 3. So it's been a mad couple of days building your two-step funnel. So well done. We wanted to hit the ground running. So we're going to take a little bit of breath now, and I'm just going to ask you to join me on a guided tour of T4S as a whole and what the various bits and pieces are available to do. You won't need them all, straight away, but it's just good for you to know that they exist. So we're going to look at the funnel manager, we're going to look at the page editor, and so on and so forth. Before we go in, I just wanted to quickly mention on the video the dashboard, which you see when you first log in, because it's actually quite an important page to check out, certainly every now and again. The latest significant tip or what's new will always be here as a headline, and below that you've got all of the blog articles that you can go back through. They're worth browsing, particularly if you're a new user, because there's lots of good stuff in there about how to do things, what's new, tips and tricks, and so on. Down the side here you can access your recent funnels. You can click on show all and it will expand to show them all. If you've signed up for any courses that T4S members are running, then they're listed there straight for you as well. And below that, this is an important bit, boosting your discounts. So on T4S Marketplace you can get free but also commercial paid for funnels and page templates. So you can get complete funnel templates. As I say, some are available for free and some you pay for. You can actually sell your own on the T4S Marketplace. So we'll have a think about that, because it's a nice way to make some money. But boost your discount is important, because every day that you log into T4S and visit this page, your discount is boosted by 1%, which adds up quickly, and this is a percentage discount on anything that you buy on T4S Marketplace. So if something's going to cost you, let's make it easy and make it £100 or $100, and at the moment I'm sitting on 66% discount, I get a 66% discount on that funnel, and all you've got to do is log in every day. Simple as that. Don't forget, below that you can actually get, included in that, click here to receive a daily email reminder. Worth doing, so that if you don't go onto T4S every day, you get an email reminder, and you click on a button on that email and you visit and claim your daily loyalty boost. Tips or email is an email list which I use for T4S. I try and stick to just tips on that one, so you're not being sold to at all. But anyway, that's the dashboard. I thought it'd be worth mentioning before we go to the funnel manager. So let me pick a it doesn't really matter, does it? Let's pick any funnel and go straight to our funnel manager. So this is, for example, the funnel for the T4S Bootcamp. Now let's go and pick up where we are on our page in the Bootcamp. So the 5 things I want to cover: tutorials, funnel manager, page editor. What on earth are containers, columns and elements on the page editor? The one thing, once you've got your head around that, you're off to the show. And lastly, the config bar within the page editor. So they're the 5 things that I want to cover today. So let's go through as we do on all these videos, and I'll take you through the page so it matches and ties in rather than me going off at a tangent. So the tutorials, if you've not been there already, at t4s.site/tutorials are a whole bunch of videos and all sorts. You can expand the page editor here and get all of the elements. Every single one comes with a little video, short video, showing what they are and how to configure it. So that is definitely worth checking out, because that's where, if you're stuck, that's where you go to. If you're not sure what you're looking for, right on the start here page, quick links to all of the pages. Remember, this is built in T4S, so anything you see here you can do on your pages, but you can also search. So if I want to search for container, found 3 pages, okay, and then I can click on here and blah 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 and so on. So very quick way to get help. And before you ask me for help or the Funnel Hackers Pro Facebook group for help, probably worth you checking out the tutorial pages first. Okay, so that's the tutorials. If it still doesn't make sense, obviously Funnel Hackers Pro Facebook group, that's the place where we all hang out for support with T4S. Right, the funnel manager. So this funnel manager is this screen here, okay? And you spend most of your time in the page editor, but this is the other place where you'll spend the rest of your time. So let's go through that. The first important point to make out here, top left, is the ID of your funnel. If you're asking for support, particularly from myself or even others, then you'll almost always be asked for the funnel ID. That's what it is. Top left of the screen, Up here, this one's 1076, for example, is the idea of your funnel. That's where to find it. If you ask for it, if you're ever asking for support, always include it. Okay. The other thing which you're often asked for is the page number within your funnel. You might have an issue about a particular page, for example. So on here, we've got the chevrons or the grey arrows, which kind of indicates the flow of your funnel. You can jump around, as you probably realise, or certainly realise, but it gives an indication of the flow of your funnel. Big downward pointing arrow, and if you indent pages on a menu in a course or something, then it's signified by a smaller sideways pointing arrow. But within the arrows are numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on. The combination of your funnel ID and your page number will allow me, for example, to be able to know exactly what page you're having an issue with, go into your funnel and help you get it sorted out. So be expected to be asked for the funnel ID and the page number, or just volunteer them if you're asking for support. Okay, so that's what the funnel ID and the page number is all about. Right, we then have this left-hand menu. Some are obvious, some not quite so obvious. Let's just go through these. Images and media. This opens up what we call your media manager. Excuse me, here, where you can upload images, documents like PDFs and so on into your media manager. You can access it through the editor when you need it, but within the funnel manager you can click on images and media, and there you can manage everything you need for that funnel. We also include some backgrounds for you to get going if you want to use funky page backgrounds, and some stock images just to get you going if you want to put a quick image in there. But images here and documents here are those things that you've uploaded to your funnel, and you can upload more if you want to when you're in the funnel manager. As I say, it's always available to you in the page editor as well. Stripe integration. So when you're setting up a payment button, at the point of adding the payment button, you can put in your Stripe details. Happy days, what we call the API keys, and we did that when we set up a payment button in day 2. On your funnel manager, you can also access the same information. Okay, so you can do it here, or you can do it when you're setting up your payment buttons. Remember, the Stripe API keys are per funnel, so once you've done it once in your funnel, that's it. You don't have to worry about it again. If you go to a different funnel, you will have to enter them for that funnel. Email integration. If you're doing an opt-in form, and we will do that very soon, tomorrow I think, when we're going to set up an opt-in form, we're going to use MailChimp as an example. When you set up the opt-in form, you can put in the API keys to allow you to link the opt-in form to MailChimp. It just literally takes the T4S page and MailChimp, for example, and through this secret password API key, it does a secure link together. If you're doing a lot of those, rather than entering it and having to remember it each time, what you can do here is set up and have available those API keys for use throughout. Okay, it just saves you having time to go and get them every time. It's a place to store them, and then you can get them when you set up your email opt-in form. You don't have to. You can do it when you're setting up your email opt-in form on your page editor. No problem. It's just there for convenience. Shopify integration, I'm not going to go into too much depth about it. If you do have a Shopify shop, then you can link Shopify to T4S so that anything bought on T4S, Shopify gets told about. That's a whole topic in itself. Not really necessary, because T4S has its own shopping cart facility where people can add things to a shopping cart, boom, 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 and when you're ready, check out. You can even split it across several pages to do upsells and things like that. So you don't need Shopify, but it's there if that's your particular bag. Colours and fonts. You might have your favourite fonts, and to have to add them to every funnel every time, a bit of a pain, if not really, but some of us are lazy than others. So in this case, what you can do here is you can find your commonly used fonts. For example, I've got 3 here, and by pasting them, typing them into that field, they will be available on every page in every funnel. If you do it per page and funnel, obviously it's only available in that funnel. So it's just a way of globally doing your preferred font, started for 10. Copy and paste them exactly from Google Fonts is my advice, to avoid any typos, and just stick a comma in between each one. Same for colours. You may have a colour palette that you like using. So if let's put in F699. bright yellow. Might be one that you use a lot. So you can put them in here and they'll appear in the color picker on the page editor throughout your account across all of the funnels. You need to use what's called a hex code, which is the way that computers use a way of describing a colour. The first two digits, the second two and the third two sets of digits are the red, green and blue. Don't panic. Sounds a bit techie. There's a link here to colour hex codes. You click on that and you can go around, you can pick your lovely colour and then it gives you the hex code, boom, there. In fact, it even gives you colours that look good together in various design ways, which you can then just copy and paste and use. Okay, and it's this hex code here that you want. So let me take that purple, copy that, make sure you include the hash, and boom, that purple will now be available on every page in every funnel I do. Let me clear that. Course colors and logo for this one funnel, you can tailor the way that your course looks, the colour of the menu and the colour of the hover rows and the text and so on in the menu areas, and that's what this is for. Again, uses the same principle of hex codes, so you can play around with that if you have a code. Here, for example, when I hover over a menu item, it goes green in the background. That's why that hex code is there. You can also add a logo or image in the top left of your course, which could be you or photo of you or your logo or good looking image, whatever it might be, and you can add that image there and add it to your course. Alright, so that's the sort of global colours and fonts. Quizzes we'll go on to in more detail. You can basically create quizzes for your users, particularly good for courses where people can be tested and learning reinforced and get progress, and at the end of it all, if you want, you can give them a personalised certificate which looks rather nice for them to hang on the wall. Quizzes. Library funnel. This is a special funnel that everybody has. It's a special funnel because the content in this funnel you can use on any page in any funnel. It's like a reference or library of content that you can automatically insert, like a header or footer or something you use an awful lot. It could be just a container, it could be lots of content. And I'll show you in the editor how to add to your library funnel something that already exists, or indeed you can go to the library funnel and you can create new content by adding a blank page. Don't think about it as a page, it's just content that you can add in, and you can see here I've got my bootcamp header, introduction, footer, tip and body content, so I don't have to recreate those default template content, if you like. I can just pick it and drop it into my page whenever I want. T4S Marketplace we talked about at the start, where you can get page templates, funnel templates for free or paid for. The T4S affiliate scheme, I urge you to look at this because this is how you can make some money on the side with very little effort. Basically, if you refer somebody to T4S and they sign up and start paying, as long as they're paying, you get 50% of everything that they're paying forever. Get 2, it's your account covered for costs. Get 10 and it's, happy days. So T4S affiliate scheme, please do have a look at it. Get support is how to get support. What's new are little tips about what's new on T4S and tips and tricks as well. They represent posts that I also put on the Facebook group Funnel Hackers Pro. Alright, so that's the left hand menu of the Funnel Manager. The Media Manager we've covered already. I won't go into too much detail. Let me quickly show you how to upload. You click on the upload button. From here you can click on a button or drag files into this dotted grey area. Let's find one, let's pick one here. Have I got anything on my desktop just to use? Deep Thought. It uploads. Once it's gone green, you click on finish uploading and boom, there it is. And then I can use that image in my funnels. I'll just remove that. But across the top, as we mentioned, images, documents, PDF files, zip files, Word documents, that sort of thing, and backgrounds and stock images as we covered already. Oops, excuse me. Right, there we go. So that's the Media Manager. Okay, let's make the point here about images. You go to somewhere, you find a beautiful image or one of your own, and you upload it and it takes ages to load up on the page. Common mistake. you don't need to have the biggest, in fact you don't want to have the biggest possible file size, because it slows down your page load, which impacts on things like Google when it thinks about your page. And obviously the faster the page load, the better it is for people to see what's coming and convert. So what I suggest you do is, let's say for example you've got an image 300 pixels wide by 200 pixels high on the screen. I would save that image as double, 600 by 400. The reason being is double is that all those people with swanky high resolution monitors will then see a much better quality image. Those with normal monitors will just see the 300 by 200, fine, no problem, but you're taking into account those with the swanky monitors. You don't need to make your image any bigger than that. Please don't. There's absolutely no point, because no one can see it any bigger than that. Okay, so by making it no bigger than twice what it looks like on the screen, more or less, you haven't got to get it exact, but just don't go for those great big images, because that will just slow everything down. Get it down to a size that gets the file size of that image as small as possible to keep your page load speeds quick. If you don't have Photoshop or something like that, I've got a link here to pickresize.com. Pickresize.com, free resource. You can pick an image and it will, and you can then cut it down and change size and do other fancy stuff with it as well. There's loads of others. That's just one example. If you get the opportunity, more of an advanced tip, when you're saving, particularly photos, do check to see whether it's better to save them as a JPEG or a PNG format, because one will be smaller than the other. Typically, photos you want to save as JPEG, and line art and clip art and stuff like that would be a PNG file typically. But you can compare the two. Save a JPEG and a PNG and have a look and see how they compare in terms of file size, and pick the smaller. If you're saving as JPEG, you get the extra advantage if you're using something like Photoshop and so on, where you can actually say the quality. Now I find setting it at 80% reduces the file size by a reasonably significant amount, but doesn't change the quality that anybody can see on the screen. So I tend to save JPEGs at 80% quality, just to again shave off more of that file size, which is what it's all about. Okay, let's move on. We've done Stripe, blah blah blah. This page just goes through the options as I've talked about and goes into examples of what to do, which brings us down to here. The buttons across the bottom of the screen, and by that I mean these down here. Okay, the buttons across the screen here. Alright, let's have a look at each of those. Member access. If you're selling your funnel as a course or a membership area, people will probably buy access to it. That's where you manage them. Okay, that's where you go in and you see your existing members and you can do things with them. I've got no one in this particular funnel as an example. As they buy and join, they will appear as a list here. There will be buttons on there which allow you to change their password should they forget, and ask you to reset it, and you can delete them, which removes their access. Doesn't delete their user account, but deletes access to that funnel. You can also manually add people in here with first name, last name, email address, and a reference, payment reference, Stripe reference, or just the word manual if you're typing it in. And a tick here if you want them to have a T4S.site sent email with their password details. The reason that's optional is because a lot of people like to keep that much more personal and friendly, and build that relationship with the users. So rather than having a T4S.site generic, here's your password email, they will send a personal email or whatever to advise them on what their login details are. So bear that in mind if you're building relationships with users, which you should be, whether you want an automatic email or whether you want to deal with it yourself. Okay. Next one, transfer page in. Transfer page in. If someone's got a page, let's go back to my funnel. Let's go to the one that we're building. Say I've created a nice page and I want to give it to somebody else. Donate it because I'm just a jolly nice chap. On the menu down here by the pages, you can transfer page, and that gives you a unique code for that page for you. Should people want that page, you would give them that code. They will then click on transfer page in and paste that code into there. Click on transfer page in and it will send a copy of your page to them. Okay, so it's a copy of your page. transfer page. Sorry, not a copy. I am completely wrong. This is it sends the page to them. It doesn't send a copy. So if you want to keep a copy yourself, duplicate it first, and you duplicate it first by clicking on here and clicking duplicate page. Click copy. I then have a copy of the page here, which I can then transfer to that other person. Got that right. There we go. Hardly ever used, to be honest with you, but it's there should you, particularly if you're building pages for other people, that's particularly useful. Global code, more advanced, but if you're using Google Analytics or Facebook Pixels or anything like that, maybe a third-party plugin that pop up something on your screen, they will give you a piece of code. It will almost always be something called JavaScript and maybe some CSS for styling. Don't have to worry about it. They'll say copy and paste this into your page. If you want whatever it is you're doing, like Google Analytics, to go onto every page in your funnel, that's global code. You click on global code down here and you paste it into that box, and that will go onto every page in that funnel. If you want to do it per page, you would use the custom code page element, and you can then put custom code onto a particular page. This is global code across all pages in your funnel. As I say, typically Google Analytics, Facebook Pixels, and other bits and pieces that you might want to put into every page of your funnel. Right, edit funnel. Edit funnel. Let's edit the funnel. Not surprisingly, so you can rename the name, you can change the path. So T4S.site/whatever becomes whatever you put into that box. You can also click on Trash Can, which allows you to restore deleted pages. So there's that duplicated page I just deleted. If I click on Restore and click on here and do it now, refresh my page, it restores it. So when you delete a page, it goes into a trash can, and then you can restore them, so they're not truly deleted. Having said that, I'll tidy up and delete that again. So that's the trash can. Okay. I'll come back to advanced in a second. Duplicate duplicates the funnel for you, so it creates a new funnel in your account for you. Transfer, if you're building funnels for other people, or, and this is a really good example, if you're selling, you're doing the T4S affiliate scheme where you're promoting T4S and to claim 50% of everybody else that they pay when they join, rather than just saying, hey, here's T4S.site join, you could say, hey, here's T4S.site join, and I'll give you a funnel to get you going. Far more likely for people to convert. So if you're targeting a niche, let's say estate agents, you can give them a funnel to sell property, that they're doing. Of course, realtors in America, or if you're doing a flower shop, you can give them a funnel to sell flowers. So they're not just joining T4S.site, which is a bit vacuous in terms of what your offer is. You can say, join T4S.site and I will give you for free a funnel to get you going, or more than one funnel, and I'll support you, and you can join your Facebook group perhaps that you're using to support your affiliates. So you value stack it and give them that extra reason, not just to join T4S.site, blah blah blah. They join and they hit the ground running. Yeah, so you're creating a business, a sideline basically of affiliates, and you'll be amazed how much by doing that extra step, people will go, great, I join, you get your 50% every month, and I get a funnel to get going, or funnels to get going, and I get support from you perhaps, in getting going and so on. So, and once they get going, their support level drops, and you're then just taking 50% of everything they pay. You put in their login email address, whatever it might be for T4S once they've joined, and you can then send them a copy of this funnel, or you can move this funnel to them. Typically it'll be copy, because then if you've got lots of people, you'll be sending copies to everyone. Delete deletes the funnel. Once it's gone, it's gone. Okay, so only delete it when you're happy. You are happy it gets deleted. Right, advanced. Quite a few juicy options in here. Let's take them one at a time, and then we'll take a breath. Affiliates. By default, your funnel pages have a little box in the bottom right hand corner saying created with T4S or built with T4S.site. If people click on that and then join, they become an affiliate of yours without doing anything at all. Simple as that. But you may not want to show it, and if you want to hide it, you tick that box. Okay, and it will hide it from your pages. You can also embed your affiliate code in your funnels. They're not shown in any way, but again, if somebody signs up after visiting your page, they become one of your affiliates. So consider that as well. So little effort for so much potential reward. Share your funnel. If you're working with somebody else, rather than giving them your login details, which you shouldn't be doing, or transferring the funnel backwards and forwards and all the rest of it, you can share your funnel with them so you can both work on it. Very handy if you're helping somebody out. All you need to do is put in their login email address there for T4S.site, and I'll show you in a second where that shows in terms of how you know it's being shared. And when you want to get rid of it, delete their email address and save, and they're no longer being shared with you. Okay. Add your funnel to T4S.marketplace. This is where you can sell your funnels. Highly recommended. Let me show you the page. Tips how to do it, and then all the funnels that you can submit, and off you go. You're making money by selling your funnels. Super duper. Let me just tidy up and delete my copy here again. Right, edit funnel, back to advanced. So take a look, have a read. Redirect for locked pages. We'll come on to this more when we look at particularly courses. What this allows you to do, and I'll use courses as an example. If you've got a course, you've got a welcome page, or introduction, whatever, you may want to give them a couple of pages of your course for free to tease them in, get them hooked. At which point, when they get frustrated, they're far more likely to buy because they're frustrated by not being able to access the rest of your awesome course. So by choosing from this drop-down box here, you can send people to another page rather than just being challenged with a login, which is not particularly great. So it's great if people already have the details sent to them, but if in a funnel terms, rather than just say it's locked, log in, you can redirect them to a sales page, which is awesome. Because then on that sales page you can say, this is all you're going to get in the rest of the course, isn't it awesome? You give them a surprise bonus, because we know that everybody loves that in terms of conversion stats. They pay, and then they get back to the funnel and carry on with access. Okay, so very, very great way of converting people in a course. Give them some free content, stop with your locked pages. At that point it gets redirected to a sales page where you can buy. That's what that's for, and we'll talk about that more when we look at courses. Nearly there. Secret sign in or secret sign up. You may want to give some friends or family or certain people access to your locked pages without them having to buy. Here you can put in a code 12345, and then people can go to it with putting a question mark, access equals 12345 at the end of the URL when they type in the browser. It's a backdoor into seeing the locked pages of your funnel or membership area should you want to do so. And lastly, custom domain names. If you don't want to use T4S.site on your sales funnel, then you can have www.example.com or whatever you want. You can have your own domain name, which is great for branding particularly. I'm not going to go into detail on this. Simply enough, follow these steps, and on the tutorial page that it links to, it goes through in a lot of detail exactly what you need to do in order to get your custom domain name up and running, and a nice video at the top there with my ugly mug on it. So have a look at that if you want to use www.whatever.com or UK or whatever it is you have for your sales funnel. Phew, let's take a breath. That's the funnel manager. Other bits and pieces, you've got tutorial button up there, you've got statistics which you can look at to have a look at how your pages are performing, add new funnel or page, and obviously switch between your funnels at the top here. Oh, these are the shared icons. Yeah, could be black, could be white, or filled in and not filled in, however you want to describe it. If it's black, it's you sharing with somebody else. If it's not filled in, then it's them sharing with you. Okay, and so that's what this shaking hands icon is on there. Stay informed is the T4S Marketplace. This is your menu with various your stuff where you can do. Dashboard, back to the dashboard. For you, right, I think the last thing we can do before the page editor is just look at the pages. Pages here, you can click and drag these, change the order. You can click on edit to edit the page editor, view to have a preview of it, and page details, social and SEO. Page details, social and SEO is the name, the URL of your page after t4s.site/yourfunnel/whatever, and a description. These are important because they're used by social media. So Facebook, LinkedIn, all the rest of it. That's the title, URL, and description that appears. Also on Google search results, that's what it will pick up. So important to get that right and just not put welcome, welcome, welcome. You want to put certainly on the description, an action-based description that will appear, pushing people to click on it and make it an action. The image, just to drop down here, this is the image which is shown. So you can change the image which appears on Facebook, sharing links, for example. If you find that you've already shared it and it's showing the default one here, things like Facebook caches it, which means it stores a local copy on the page. I put a link on here in terms of how to update it. Where do we put it? There's a link there. Okay, so you can update Facebook's cache or local copy if you change it after. You have to be a bit persevere with it because it doesn't always happen first time, but you'll get there. You can discourage search engines from indexing this page. Perhaps you don't want people to see thank you pages and so on. By ticking that, you will discourage people like Google and Bing and so on from putting it onto its search results page. You can, if you want to, temporarily redirect this page. Maybe it's an offer that's not started or finished, so you can redirect this page because people have bookmarked it, and it's on social media. So don't just delete the page if the offer's finished. Put in a redirect to the next offer, whatever that might be. Canonical URL, I'm not going to worry about. The chances of you having to do that are minimal. There's a read this link there for you to have a look at. If you're embedding your funnel inside another website, inside WordPress or something like that, then that is relevant to you. Take a read, otherwise I'm not going to bore the vast majority of people listening. And finally, available as a page template. Tick that and it will be available. This page will be available on your page templates. When you add a new page, it will be there for you to pick as a template for new pages. Lastly, little icons here. Below each page, you've got visits, conversions, and a rate percentage. So at the moment this is live, so they're very low, but this basically says how many people have visited your page, how many people have done something, clicked on a button, a link or whatever, so they've converted, and then a rate percentage. And obviously 100% would be everybody who visits does something, converts on your page. So you're looking to get that as high as possible. The little trash can will reset those statistics back to 0. So maybe if you're building a page, when you launch it, you can click on that and reset the stats to start getting monitoring live traffic. And the last little icon, which won't have anything on here at all, shows you a record of everybody who's gone on to pay something. Have I got any test? No, I've got a test one here. So here, this is a test one here. Joe example bought in test mode a £97 product from our, from our 1 hour consultancy, which we're doing in the first couple of pages. And you can also include abandoned payments, which will show you those people who have intended to pay, got to the checkout, and then cancelled. So did not pay. So you can see there if you've got a lot of people getting to your checkout page, but then stopping, what we call an abandoned cart. So a very useful way to see how your page is performing in terms of actually money you're receiving. And you can get more stats on the statistics button. Right, that's the funnel manager. Take a breath. Whew. Let's have a look at the page editor. So the best thing you can do on the page editor is play. You've already spent a couple of days playing around with it, so your learning curve is already, and you're fairly well adversed, I suspect, with what's going on in general. So the content of this page is all written down. I don't want to read it out verbatim and go through there because you will have done a lot of stuff already. So I'm going to do a fast track version. Across the top you add containers. You can then switch between desktop, tablet and mobile view for your page. You can manage your pop-up, heat map and preview. You can set a background color. Let's go yellow. You can do an overlay color. So yellow and blue. Ugh. Okay, so we remove that and remove that, put it back to white. You can also put a background image on through the the media manager. If you put a background image on, you can then use the overlay selection here to tint it, colorize it. Particularly if it's a grayscale one. That's a very handy way to take a grayscale picture and make it subtly blue or subtly red or whatever it might be. Nice look there. Page menu, page stuff, media manager, background image, page entry, email list, more advanced. You can add people to a MailChimp, for example, email list when they enter or leave the page and move them along as they go through the funnel onto different mailing lists, which are more pertinent to where they've got to in your funnel stage, but that's more advanced. Theme changer, you can play around with this. This allows me to pick a theme and change the colors of it. You can make your own should you wish to. That's the theme changer. Tutorials, tutorial button, clear the page with the warning sign. These are only available to me, so ignore those. Save the page, undo the last change. Thank you, got rid of my theme, and restore a previous version. Every time you save, which is why it's important to save, it goes into your previous versions, which you can then preview. I must have deleted that one, and then you can click on restore. Okay, so that's restoring a previously saved version. If you don't save, you can't restore to that version. Awards I'm going to skip over, and X obviously leaves. So that's the top bar. The config bar, if you click on any element, the config bar appears down the side as you've seen already. So, you played around with this, but you can, blah, 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 style it, borders, more. The content at the top is the important bit because that's specific to whatever. So in an image, I've got options here. If I go to my buy button, I get different images here. Okay. Simple as that. Read the page. I'm not going. It's silly me putting this out verbatim because it's by this point you had 2 days of playing, so I'm not going to bore you with that. Containers, columns, and page elements. Again, I suspect you've got to the point where you know what this is about. A container can have 1, 2, or 3 columns. Within those columns, you can have page elements, which is the stuff that you're doing. If it isn't clear in your mind, take a look at that. The brief version is I'll put in a container, hover over these icons at the right hand side here where they go pink, it's a column or a container. If I edit the container, I'm doing things with the container. Maybe I'm going to put a full width color on it, perhaps. Have some space at the top and the bottom. A column, I just hover over the column icon, and I'll set a border color there, design, space there, space at the top, whatever it might be. And the element itself, cut and copy this element, or multiple elements actually, edit this element, and I'm now playing around with the element itself, so let me just stick in another one there to show you. Okay, so let me just highlight that column there. I suppose what I could do here is just to show you the difference. If I put another paragraph there and set the background color of the column. So the column's blue, but I specifically said I want these colors different. Okay, so containers, columns, and individual elements. Anyway, I digress. Columns, containers, big things. Columns across the page. Elements are the things that you do. I'm pretty sure you're up to speed on that by now, but that's the thing to get your head around. When you go to mobile, remember that columns are important because columns then drop underneath each other. And that's how you can make sure the content is clear. If you're trying to squish 2 or 3 columns onto a mobile view, the text will be so sillily small, it's horrible. So T4S automatically drops columns underneath each other, and that's why we use columns. Also, by clicking on the little 3 dots here, you can drag and change the widths of the columns as well. So you can have a third and 2/3, for example. All right, so that's containers, columns, and elements. Read the page here if you're not up to speed by that. I suspect you are. Also on the config bar, I'm sure you've had to play around with this already with the fonts and so on. So read the text here if you need to know more. But other than that, I suspect you're used to the idea that it will pop up, and you're used to the idea that design tab is around look and feel, borders is around mostly border stuff, and column and corners, and more is other stuff like background colors, opacity. On buttons here I can put in another line of text, and then I can for example. That sort of thing. All right. So that's the config bar. I'll just quickly refresh this page because it's starting to look really blooming horrible. There we go. Okay, so play. Seriously, I don't want to spend loads of time on the page editor because the best thing you can do is play. There's lots to learn and lots to discover, but discover's the key word. You don't need probably 90% of what's there. 10% will probably get you, 90% of the way through. That last 10% of what you want to do is the other 90% that's available to you should you want it. So don't be put off by the options. All of the simple stuff is there and hopefully simple for you to use. And then when you want to do something, check out the tutorials page, t4s.site/tutorials. If you still can't get your head around it, not a problem. Drop on the Funnel Hackers Pro Facebook group, pop your question in there, and that's where I hang out and will help you out, and away we go. So thank you for bearing with me. Bit of a long, potentially boring video there. So congratulations if you got to the end of it, first of all. Tomorrow we're going to get back into doing something. We're going to set an opt-in element and link it to MailChimp as an example. So we're back onto the doing side. But that just gives you an overview of the funnel manager, the tutorials and the page editor, and hopefully filled in any gaps that maybe if you jumped ahead and started playing, you may not have realised that something's there. And that's the point of today, is just to make you aware of things that are there should you want them. You know they exist, and then you can have a look, do it, or you can shout out for help. Okay, thank you very much. Tomorrow, roll up your sleeves, we're back into doing.